So today we've got the door off of our 2014 Ford Edge, and the reason for that is because the window switch stopped working in this guy. So we couldn't roll down any of the windows in the car with the window switch in the driver's door. The other window switches in the other doors worked. So that's how I knew it was an issue with the door itself, or the switch in the door itself. My initial attempt was to actually just buy a new window switch. You can buy an aftermarket switch for $40 to $50 or so online. And I thought, man, there you go, I'll just do that. Easy enough. That wasn't the problem. Easy to replace. You don't have to take the door off or anything, but it didn't solve my problem. So I had to dig a little deeper and determine that this wire, which is it's a blue wire, in the male side of the harness connector that plugs into the connector in the body, this wire terminal was broken. So I'll show you the broken one over here. Let's see if we can focus here. You can see I got a new one next to it, and that's the broken one that I pulled out, and that's a new one. I found this Dorman part number 85377. It's just a terminal assortment with, you can see the other terminals that came with it. It was about $10 or so, but it had the appropriate connectors in there, or at least one that I was able to make work. So I did test this in the female side of the connector just to make sure it would work. And putting it on here wasn't the easiest thing in the world. I feel like this is a little bit heavier gauge wire than what this terminal is supposed to accept, and I don't really have, I know I don't have the exact crimp tool for these connectors, so I used what I had, and I wasn't super happy with the crimp, so I ended up just fluxing and soldering the connector on to the wire as for some added stability and whatnot. I don't want to have to take this apart again. And then I further put some shrink wrap on here to give it a little more strength as well. So, and that happened to be blue, just like the wire was. So this wire, if you have a similar problem, this connector is the top terminal closest to you as you're looking at the inside of the door. And there's a rubber boot that covers that. So if you want to diagnose this without taking the door off, you can pull this boot back. And then I just used a needle nose, and this just was sitting in there wiggling around. So I knew that it was broken. So I knew the door had to come off. There just isn't enough room to disconnect all this and do this work with the door off. So I recommend having a helper to take the door off. It's 5 bolts. There's one 10 mil bolt that holds this little strut on, and then there's 4 12 mil bolts that hold the door onto these hinges. I just used a floor jack with some, like a moving blanket sitting on top to protect the door. It had my helper steady it while I took the top bolt out. I took the other bolts out and then left it sit there, and once I had her here, I took that top bolt out and we just set it on this cart so I could do this work. But anyway, I don't know how pervasive this is in Ford Edges, and I don't really know what model years this affects or primarily affects, but this is a 2014, and it sounds like it's not uncommon to have this wire break. So if you don't have power windows for all of a sudden in your driver's door, it's more than likely this wire. So, and there's other videos out there. Actually, Ford Tech Mac Loco has really good video on how to take the various Ford wire harness connectors apart. There's extra parts you need to pull out so that you can get this out. You'll need some small screwdrivers, maybe a pick or two, that sort of thing. It's not super difficult, especially once you have the door off and you're able to sit on a stool or something or whatever, put it on a bench and work on it right in front of you. So hopefully this is helpful to someone out there with the same problem or a similar problem, but that should be my fix. I'm going to put this animal back together. Take it easy.